Welcome back to Pay to Play Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't really have a grabby intro, so go ahead and watch this video of my cat real quick.
Hey, little buddy. You cannot film with me today, although I do love you. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You should go to fence post.
Building a deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is fun. It's also pretty hard if you don't know what you're doing. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is complicated. The best and easiest thing you can do is to look up a deck list online, buy those cards from certain retailers, and have a deck that is ready-made to go. But what if we made it even harder? We're going to build our deck solely by using Konami sealed product, that's starter decks, booster packs, and trading with other duelists. This should waste plenty of both time and money, but make our deck unique to us and hopefully make us a little bit better at the game while we're doing it. Welcome, duelists, to Pay to Play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's week 12, and unfortunately, I don't know that our deck's getting any better. We have a lot of ground to make up. I still have to learn the Tri-brigade core. I don't feel like I know it as well. I know it can link spam up to Shiraig, but it kind of feels like after turn 1 or turn 2, it's kind of done, and I'm just playing Fire Kings again, which I don't love. Shiraig is a good boss monster. Banish is huge, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel enough. It really feels like, compared to the Snake Eyes stuff, our deck isn't as recursive as it used to be, I think is the best word for it. It also feels like there's a lower ceiling, but I can't tell if it's just me or if it's the deck. I'm still not great at the game compared to other people, so it's hard for me to know. All that being said, that might change because today we are opening up Rhoda, which has the cards we need to succeed. It has Ulconix, Courtier of the Fire Kings, the biggest card we can get, and it also has Firestorms over Atlantis, which is a card that's admittedly not that great, but it is good enough that we could use it, and it would help the ceiling of our deck improve. And since we're opening up half a box, theoretically, our chance of getting a super rare out of the set is pretty damn high, and that would be huge. I gotta tell you, I am super excited. I don't think anyone is running this card, so I think it would be crazy to bust out on somebody. And considering we do have, hopefully, a rematch against Guy coming, it's gonna be huge to shake him up. Without further ado, let's open up this week's packs. Today, we're buying in bulk. Okay, so one thing we've been neglecting to do with these cards is shop smart when we're buying cards. We've been running up a $40 budget for these episodes, but by buying individually, we're actually getting fewer packs and we're not guaranteeing ourselves anything good. And that's a real problem. So instead, we bought a box and we are going to not only save money, but also guarantee ourselves some pulls. So let's go ahead and open up. We've got half of the box right here. The box was upside down when I opened it, which is interesting, but by doing half, we're pretty much, not guaranteed, but very, very likely to get a secret rare and 2 ultra rares, which is going to be huge because there are a couple secret rares in the set that we actually need. Ulconix, obviously, is the number 1 we're going for, but the secret rare for the Azamina might actually be useful for the Sinful Spoils secret rare, because there's actually a pretty decent Azamina Snake Eyes Fire King build out there. We've got Chaos Allure Queen, Flipping Feline, such a cute card, and then we get into Giant Mimighoul. Okay, so there's our first secret rare, Giant Mimighoul. Not the one I was hoping for, but still really cool to get. It can be decent trade bait. Obviously, I know some people that are interested in the Mimighoul strategy, so that's super helpful. Time Engine, El Magi Mergy, and Battle Wasp Wind. Okay. Alright, picking up, we've got Never Ending Nightmare Absorber, Max Metalmorph, Valmonica Hereditare, Insect Invitation going into Virtue Dragon. I've not, in all of my time playing at Sharks and Sea stuff, I've not seen anyone summon Virtue Dragon. I don't know if it's very popular. Zoa the Fiendish Beast, Sky Strike, Double Assault, Time Engine, and Surupurupurin. One big thing, I know obviously we didn't get the secret rare we were looking for, but there's a super rare that would be super, super helpful for us to pull that I want to reiterate, which is Firestorms over Atlantis. Actually really big for our deck if we can get that, because it's a free draw and a free destruction, which can really help get us over the mark. Armored Shark, Guilt of the Sinful Spoils, Chaos Allure Queen, Goblin Biker Grand Crisis, and Legendary Soul Lord Six Samurai and Nishi, Battle Wasp Wind, Denial Deity Doten, New B, and Ruby Sephiroth the Adamant Jewel. Such a cool name, we'll never be able to summon it. Going into it, we have Supply Soldier of the Indestructible Insects, Summer Schoolwork Successful, Performage Ball Balancer, Token Support, and our card is going to be Surfacing Big Jaws, an actually really good ultra rare pool. This is a really good card, and I definitely know someone interested in it, so that could be really good trade bait for us. It's also just really cool artwork, though I can't see, and I don't know if it's picking up on camera. I'm going to try and get it close. You can actually see the print lines in this, which is rare, so that's kind of cool. Hopefully that's fine, but cool to see. El Magi-Mergi, Release Brainwashing, Armed Rebellion, and Ragnaraka Wisteria of Woe. There are also, I think, some Azamina normal cards, or commons we can use. I don't know. I gotta look into it. But the Azamina stuff does look interesting and might do us better than the Tri-brigade stuff we've been picking up. Regardless, I'm still happy to do it. Insect Invitation, Flipping Feline, QQ Enigam, Armored Shark, going into Mermail King Neptibus for our second Ultra Rare. This is actually, it's kind of funny because we have this in QCR, now we have it in Ultra as well. So hopefully there is a market for it. I don't know too much. Aquajet Surface, Abyss Sting Triana, Armed Rebellion, and Sky Six Strike Double Assault. I don't know a ton about Mermails, but having the Ultra Rare is, I guess, better than not having it? I don't know. It's not a particularly expensive Ultra Rare, so in terms of trade bait, not the best for us, but it could be worth something. Alright, so we have Never Ending Nightmare Absorber, Chaos Allure Queen, Puppet Shark, Tactical Trainer of the Six Samurai, going into Incoming Machine. This is one of the Metamorph cards. My buddy actually was able to squeeze out a win using the Metamorph stuff, so could be good. Same, okay, maybe it's just the shark artwork, but this one also has those print lines on it, so I guess maybe it's the Big Jaws artwork? I don't know. Butterfly Fish, Chaos Star Source Dragon, back to the front. Very interesting. I never noticed that about the shark stuff. I mean, I never looked that closely, but a weird detail to include. Alright, Max Metamorph, Mimighoul Armor, Anarchist Monk of the Six Samurai, Azamina Determination, and going into Drake Shark. I know this one's actually pretty decent, so I think it's a one-of, but it is part of the decks that cooked me, so I recognize that. Heavy Cavalry of the Insects, Azamina Soul, Irisk Sighton? I don't know, and Max Metamorph. Azamina cards are getting indecipherable, but I actually do think that common is part of the strategy, so that's pretty good, and I can't complain. Hopping into it, we've got Goblin Biker Grand Crisis, Xyz Poseidon Splash, Performage Ball Balancer, Mantman the Ultra Human, into Mimighoul Slime, so slowly but surely building out our Mimighoul package. Put it right here, Heavy Cavalry of the Indestructible Insects, Virtue Stream, Mementolan Akihiron, and Mimighoul Fork. I do, to some degree, miss back when cards were a lot easier to say. Surfacing Big Jaws is pretty good, but I don't know, something like Battle Ox. There's an iconic element to keeping it so simplistic. Alright, Xyz Poseidon Splash, Azamina Determination, Philoneop Sisters, Mimighoul Armor, and Primite Roar. The Primite stuff is interesting because I think it could probably pair pretty well with like a Blue Eyes build. Not with the new support, but with what we currently have, I think it could work relatively well with. So it's actually pretty interesting. Obviously, we're going to use it as trade bait as much as we can right now, but in the future, it might actually be useful for something. I know it didn't do a ton in the OCG, but I don't know. I could see it really becoming something for us. Guilt of the Sinful Spoils, the Philoneop Sisters, Battle Wasp Sachi, the Ceremonial Bow, Primite Howl, getting into our super of Scourge of the White Forest. White Forest is a really interesting archetype that I like a lot. I've played against it, I've been cooked against it, but it's really fun. It's a synchro deck, and in my opinion, a lot of synchro decks work relatively the same way. But it is a lot more interesting. The artwork is really cool. I like how it ties into the DFL Star storyline, so all in all, I'm a fan. Kicking this off on our penultimate pack, we have Summer Schoolwork Successful and Monster Metalzoa X. I know this is part of the Metamorph strategy, but I don't know if this is an integral part. I know most people use just the Red Eyes card and one of the traps to have an Omni-Negate on field, because my buddy did it. Now that, I slapped the last pack. Going into the final one, we've got Belmonica Argatare, Token Support, Reincarnation Unveiling Male, as Immune Determination, into a spell card, please, Final Bringer of the End Times. This is, like I said, it's a slightly worse version of Fire King Skyburn. I was really hoping with all this we would get a single Firestorms over Atlantis. It's just a super rare, but that's painful. So all in all, pretty good opening. I think we got, a ton of cardboard, so that's always good. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 supers, and then our 2 ultras and 1 secret is a pretty decent ratio. Giant Mimighoul, hopefully still has a price on it. Mermail King, it's funny that we keep pulling this and surfacing Big Jaws, and it was a good card at the very least. So, alright, we can kind of rock with this. It's not looking good, gang. I'll be honest with you. Ilya Silva is a good card, but the other pulls were not where we needed to be. The ultra rare Neptibus, we have the QCR. That's something, but I don't know. I really don't know. But that's fine. We're going to move right along with Tri-brigade Fire King using what's basically the same list as last time. The only change up is that we do get to add a couple copies of Crossout Designator, which helps. Ash Blossom and Droll really hurt this deck. We don't have our copy of Shifter. There is a world in which we could side in a copy of Shifter with our 2 copies of Crossout and 1 copy of Called by the Grave to use against our opponent from shiftering us during main, because this deck, unfortunately, doesn't do very well against it. Tri-brigade helps out a little bit because it can sometimes shuffle in through Banished using Tri-brigade Revolt, but ultimately our cards don't like to get banished. So Shifter is a hard counter, Droll is kind of a hard counter, and Ash Blossom, if used in the right spot, can shut us down entirely. Not the worst idea, but I don't know if it's feasible enough to sacrifice one of our side deck spots. Also, after some reflection, I did decide not to run Ice Dragon's Prison in the main deck. Not really a particular reason, I just know it's not very popular to do that, and so even though it seems good, I'm going to trust other people's judgment and not my own on this one, though if I feel like I need it today and I didn't use it, it's absolutely going in next week. I don't have any trades this week, but we've got to get the rest of the Tri-brigade stuff. It's not even necessarily Tri-brigade that we need, though a second copy of Shrag would go very hard for this deck. We also need double Dragon Lords. That's going to be huge. And I'm also low-key eyeing the Azamina stuff, but there is no way we could get enough of it, especially with the 3 copies of Wanted and 2 copies of Bellstar. We couldn't get enough of it for it to matter. We will never be able to fill out that engine. It's way too expensive, and it's not going to get reprinted before the end of the season. All that being said, we are returning back to that computer store, following up on our challenge from Guy. I know I was pretty emphatic last week, and that's because we're kicking some ass today, boys and girls. I don't care who it is, my name's on it. That dub is going to be Willie Westside. There's a reason why there's 2 dubs in my name. That's because all we do is take them. That rant might not make it in the last shot. I'm not going to be honest, I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see it in post. Post-edit, West kind of jumping in here real quick. Before we get into the duels, just so you know, like last time, all these duels will be in a playlist and unlisted in the video description. However, this time, for the first time in a while, there's actual audio, so you'll be able to hear these duels, here's what's being said, and hear my dumb rambling. Game 1, we're up against a relatively new player on Voiceless Voice. We end up going first, but our hand is not that crazy. We are able to set one, a Crossout Designator, and summon Arvada, which is fine, but not a lot. Luckily, his hand was not that much better either, so he places 1 prayers and passes. Comes back to us, we're able to set up a decently fine board using the Tri-brigade stuff, but nothing that's great, I guess. And we go into the next turn, he's able to absolutely go on a roll and destroys us. Fun fact, actually, before we go any further, that deck was built by Guy. Yeah, that guy. He built this deck for his buddy that's trying to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I think is super cool. If any of my friends are watching and want me to build a deck for them, you'd be better off finding one off the street than trusting my judgment. Game 2 ends up being a little bit more of a grind game. There's a lot more back and forth. He's able to stop us, we're able to stop him, but luckily we're able to establish our board on turn 3, really get things rolling, and the pressure just becomes overwhelming, and we do take the dub. However, the problem starts to kick in with time. You see, we are now only at 5 minutes left in the round, and that's only because we have an extension from our first game. Our deck does not have a burn condition. There is no way for us to play into time, so emotions are a little bit high right now. That being said, it ended up not mattering. He made a crucial misplay, and while typically I am perfectly fine with my opponent walking things back, because this was a time-sensitive moment, and we need a win for this, I did say, hey, in any other situation, I'd be perfectly fine with that, but I do want to be able to play my turn and potentially do some damage, and we were. I don't feel great about it, especially because he's a new duelist, but with the limits of the series, I felt it was necessary. Let me know in the comments below if you think I was being a dick. Game 1 ended on a win, which is awesome. I still don't feel great about it. Unfortunately, I struggle with that decision, so once again, let me know if that was crazy. But we did get the dub, which means Game 2, we're actually going to be on Table 2. We're going up against Tenpai. Tenpai is a great deck. It is goated for all the right reasons, and I gotta tell you, my opponent played it perfectly. Game 1, we're going first. Most of the time, this is a really good position for us. However, as I've learned, you never go first against Tenpai. Going first, we're able to set up a relatively decent board. We have a couple negates on there, all of our Fire King stuff is live, and we even have a setup potentially for a couple Tri-brigade lines. Unfortunately, immediately, he opens up Lightning Storm, calling spells and traps. And from there, we begin panic playing. I do protect our copy of Fire King Island for no real reason. We start sacrificing monsters we shouldn't sacrifice for effects, and he's able to absolutely destroy us. We do get to play turn 3, but a well-timed Nibiru really just shuts it all down, and he runs away with the victory. Game 2, we also elect to go first. I know, you can be mad at me, it's fine, I didn't know. But now I do. You don't ever go first against Tenpai. Sure. We have nothing also in our hands because he activates Dimension Shifter in draw phase, and unfortunately, our deck can't play against Shifter at all. So we set one infinite impermanence and we pass. What's interesting to note is that we set our infinite impermanence in the center column, and I genuinely cannot believe that is important, but it ends up being. He starts going, we can't interact with his monsters on his main phase because of the field spell, so we're kind of just sitting there. We do activate it during the battle phase to try and stop one of his synchro monsters. He ends up trying to use a copy of Sangan Summoning, and he can't! Because he put it in the center column where we used our imperm. This was the dumbest play. I should have scooped, but I didn't, and the imperm actually bought us time. And time was important because we played our heart out this next little bit. We're using Typhon a lot tonight, and that's probably because the ceiling is lower, but we're relying on it a decent bit, and we're building boards, we're trying to stop his. Eventually, we lose to a copy of Black Rose Dragon, funnily enough. So he does end up taking it, takes us down 2-0, and it is a hard loss. So yeah, that puts us at 1-1 going into the final duel of the night. The final game is against Van, which is ironic considering our last final game was against Van, also playing Sharks. And you're not going to believe it, he's playing Sharks again tonight. Round 1 is not great. We open up 0 interruptions in our main hand, which means Van has full reign to go full combo with Sharks because he opens up Gas. And full combo he went. We tried to do a little bit on our turn, but there was just nothing we could do to break that board, and he kills us on the clapback in turn 3. It's not what we love to see, but kind of understandable with the deck. I'm not even blaming the cards. We drew a bad hand. Game 2, we get to go first, and we're actually able to set up a pretty decent board. We have Princess and Arvada on field, which is a decent combo, as well as some back row set. We're looking pretty good. The problem is, Van's deck is just looking better. He's able to completely break our board, stop us out, completely overwhelm us, and eventually leading to a 1-2 KO. Van, if you're seeing this, you're a great duelist, and I cannot believe that 2 episodes in a row, I have lost the final game to you. That is crazy. You are so good! Ah! The good news is, with all tournaments we enter, we do get OTS packs. So let's go ahead and open up the 2 packs that we got. One of them is from the brand new set, so that's kind of exciting.
So we did not do very well tonight, but we did get some opening packs. 25 and 26 just came out. So 25, there's not much we need out of, but 26 actually does have a DFL star, and we actually need DFL star. The deck's gonna go in a different direction, I'm thinking, after tonight, but we shall see. I know the ulti is usually in the front, so we'll open from the back. We'll get a copy of Rank Up Magic Skip Force, not really much for us. Copy of Gen X Undyne. And finally, we have Soul Release. We've got a couple of these. Doesn't actually do that much for us, unfortunately. People were interested in teching it in against Fire King, but it never materialized. And finally, we have our Tournament Pack 26. Someone did pull an ulti Phantom, so we could see something maybe. Excuse me, Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Thor, Lord of the Acer. That's interesting. I don't know if that means that anything's coming. And finally, our last for the episode. What? Oh my god, that's the Phantom. That's the most expensive. Oh my god, okay. Well, I was worried about our trade, but oh my god, all right, well, what a note to end on. Holy crap. Damn.
Right now, night of, this is the first day OTS 26 is out. It is $100. It's not going to stay there. It's going to be like 50, 40, I don't know, somewhere in that range. It's not going to stay 100, but it's still insane right now. And I am like hyperventilating. It's so expensive, and we got it. Crazy to me. Whatever. I'm pretty ecstatic right now. That is awesome. So we do have some trade bait for next episode. We might be able to dabble a little bit, maybe get a couple of those Alconixes that would help raise the ceiling of our deck, finish out the Tri-brigade stuff would be huge. We're going to be doing a lot of trading on next episode. So it's actually probably going to be about 2 weeks before we see the results of that, just because I got to get some cards in here. As for the Tri-brigade stuff, man, I don't know. It is... I think the problem is I got so in love with the Snake Eye stuff that going to the Tri-brigade engine just feels weaker, because it is weaker, and that's kind of to be expected. Your ceiling is lower. You're going to bump your head a couple times. That's fine. It's hard when we're running into this wall so often, and it's so frustrating because I don't know how to keep going. There are crucial misplays I make, and you'll see them in the duels if you watch that playlist, where you'll see that I don't activate the effects of the Tri-brigade cards when they're sent to grave off the effect of like Tri-brigade Revolt. And that is a problem. The bigger issue, though, is even if I did and I was able to get a ton of Tri-brigade material in the grave, I still don't have anything really to go into. And maybe that's the problem I'm seeing. We're going to try and alleviate that just to find out. But really, I think what the issue is while these two engines go well together, they don't go perfect together, and Tri-brigade's probably better potentially on its own. I don't know. But also, let it be known that this is 2 weeks in a row where we have not gotten to Duel Guy. There are like 10 people that show up. The odds of this happening 2 weeks in a row is crazy. I feel like I'm going insane. All that being said, next episode, we're also going to go to that computer store to potentially, hopefully, Duel Guy. It may never happen. This may be my Sisyphean task. I don't know. But you viewers, you can contribute to my madness by clicking that little like button and dinging that little bell.